All right. We are joined by congressional candidate Chele Farley on Hudson Power Broker. Good afternoon, Chele. How are you?
I'm great, Kieran. It is wonderful to be here. As I was saying, finally, we seem to have some spring summer weather, and it could not come. We've been desperately waiting for it.
I know it is time to get outside, enjoy the weather at a safe distance from everybody, but enjoy the weather nonetheless. Are you enjoying your campaign for the United States Congress here in the Hudson Valley in the 18th congressional district?
The 18th, yes, I'm very much. I'm happy to say that I don't have a primary. I am the
Nice.
Republican and the conservative candidate running against Sean Patrick Maloney. But actually, one of the things that has amazed me is that how the Senate is going back to work tomorrow, and
Good
they
for
are
them.
leading by example. But what happened to the House? I mean, if I were there, I would be, demanding that the House open up, it lead by example, and it actually start getting things done. I mean, we know people are desperate. The economy is in tatters, and Congress needs to do everything it can to help people, and they're not doing it.
I agree with you. Has Maloney weighed in on whether or not they should go back to work as the Senate has done?
He is not. No, he's not at all. And we're trying to figure out everything we can do. I mean, one of the things that we've been doing is we've literally been giving away masks. I mean, as you know, you're required to wear a mask when you're outside. Someone donated masks to us, and we have given out 300 of them
Wow,
to at-risk seniors.
great.
We sent out an email, and I've actually been amazed and thrilled that we can help in this way. And people have not been asking for lots of masks. They've been very saying, look, I need two masks, one for me, I have high blood pressure, and one for my husband who's recovering from cancer. We're seniors, we would really appreciate it. And we've sent them out to everyone. So please, if other people want masks, go, email me. It's Chele@farley2020.com. That's CHELE@farley2020.com. We would be thrilled to help, any and all people, because we want to make sure that people recover and that we can open the economy.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. You're doing the Lord's work there. That's a great thing
Thank
that
you.
you're doing there. Now, I've been following national politics. How can you avoid it? If you can get past all the COVID news, you can. The next thing you get is the presidential election, and Joe Biden is in a little bit of a situation. I watched his interview on Friday with Mika Brzezinski, and I'm not a Mika fan. I'm not a Morning Joe fan, but I thought she interviewed him very effectively, and she asked a lot of hard questions, and he had a lot of long pauses. And I don't know if you ever watched The Simpsons, but sometimes when Homer Simpson doesn't know what to say or what to do, he just blinks like blankly. And Joe Biden did that for like 10 seconds on live national TV a couple times during this interview. Of course, he's accused of sexual harassment back when he was a United States Senator. A woman named Tara Reade came forward. Some of the people from that time frame have corroborated her story, or at least that she told them about it. Amazingly, her mother called into Larry King and mentioned that she had a hard time with a powerful person in Washington back at the time. That kind of contemporaneous evidence is powerful evidence in a court of law, for example. And I think the fact that Biden was forced to go on national TV and defend it is telling that he has a real political problem there. And your opponent, Sean Patrick Maloney, boy, I remember 2 years ago, a little less than 2 years ago, when the Kavanaugh hearings for the United States Supreme Court were going on, and Brett Kavanaugh was fighting for his reputation, his life, and for a Supreme Court seat. And Maloney, boy, he didn't have any. He didn't think Kavanaugh needed any due process. He didn't think Maloney or that Kavanaugh deserved the benefit of the doubt or the presumption of innocence. But now he's supporting Joe Biden and he's singing a different tune. Tell me about it.
Absolutely, Karen. I think the hypocrisy is outrageous. You can't have it under one scenario and not on the other. I mean, here under Kavanaugh, they were like, we're absolutely going to believe the women. We don't need corroborating evidence. That's it. But then under Biden, they're silent. It's absolute crickets. I think it's ridiculous. I called Maloney out for it. I thought it was ridiculous 2 years ago. And I mean, Gillibrand, I was running for U.S. Senate. Gillibrand was the first one, and now she's come out saying, well, this is a different scenario. And no, I actually don't think it's a similar situation. And actually, I think it is a very similar situation. But as you pointed out, there is a lot more corroborating evidence in this scenario than there was then. I think that the situation is absurd. I think we need to get politics out of all of us. And but to listen to these politicians, talk out of both sides of their mouth is the reason that people don't want career politicians. Sean Patrick Maloney, he's running for his fifth term.
Wow.
I
Wow.
signed the term limits pledge.
Good for you.
I think that this is the issue, is that we have too many people who are, in Washington forever. And that's the reason why nothing gets done. They don't want to resolve anything. They want to have the same issue so they can campaign on it again 2 years later. I think that has got to end. I'm a huge fan of term limits. As I said, signed the term limits pledge. We have to end the era of career politicians.
Yes, very true. And, a lot of career politicians, Biden, Pelosi, others, they love to blame the president for all these problems that were decades in
Mm-hmm.
the making. The president's been there for 3 years. Joe Biden has been in Washington for 45 years. Pelosi's been there for 30 years. Hillary Clinton was there for 25 years. And, President Trump's the new kid on the block, and they're blaming him for all the world's problems, which didn't start today. They accrued over many years and many decades. One of the things that came up in the Biden interview about the Tara Reade allegation was, well, you're saying Biden's saying check the National Archives. There's no paperwork on this, but don't check my papers from my Senate career at the University of Delaware. I just resealed that because I don't want anybody to know about my conversations with Putin or President Obama and other things. So there's a real lack of transparency there. And it's almost like he's protesting too much. He's saying, look over there at the National Archives, but don't look over here at the University of Delaware. Mika Brzezinski said, why don't you just do a search for Tara Reade's name? And that was one of the times he stared blankly. Has Maloney called on him to at least look into those records that are held at the University of Delaware?
Nope, nothing. Absolutely not. As Maloney backed Biden, and he is, I think, the view has always been that he hasn't really wanted this job, that he's been looking for another position.
Sure.
And that he may very well want a position.
He's too good to be just a lowly Hudson Valley member of the United States Congress, in his view. I really believe that. That's his view.
Well, remember, he was running for Attorney General in September of 2018 before he ran for Congress literally less than 2 months later.
Right. And I remember that campaign. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I would have said that the real issue is that, the last two races that he's had, he has been running against underfunded opponents. He has literally outspent them 8-1 and 10-1. Wow. Right now, we are neck and neck in terms of cash raised. In fact, in terms of all of the challenger races in the entire country, our race is number 6 in terms of the closeness of the cash available. So right? He's got a completely different race. Absolutely. We've got a lot of support, from Washington now that they've seen these numbers. I mean, they realize that this race is incredibly winnable. After all, this is a district. It's a Republican district.
Sure.
I mean, it is one of the 20 seats that President Trump won, however, that have a Democratic congressman. Right. So we need to flip those seats in order to take back the House. And we're going to do that starting here in New York 18.
That's fantastic. And money and support begets more money and support. So once you start to raise money and get close, people take a look and say, hey, where can my support make the biggest difference? In your race in the 18th Congressional District of New York, Chele Farley versus Maloney. I can't believe he's going for his 5th term. And I remember his Attorney General campaign a couple of years ago while he was simultaneously running for Congress. That's when he came out in favor of bail reform, which we know has been a debacle. It's been kind of put on the shelf by COVID-19 and all the issues related to the virus and the pandemic. But that is a major issue. Maloney was on the wrong side of it, and I'm sure you'll be bringing that up as the campaign moves along.
Absolutely, Kieran. Yes. In fact, he's even doubled down on it, saying that he would have made that one of his priorities, and he still agreed that that was the right thing to do. We have seen that the end results of that have been terrible. But, the bottom line is I think we need new ideas, we need new enthusiasm, and we need a new voice, in Washington who's actually going to get something done. So that's why my website is literally congressgetsomethingdone.com. But of course, you can go to chelefarley.com too. But Congress Get Something Done, I think, is the motto of the campaign.
Yeah, that is cool. Get to work and get something done. I'm frustrated by the New York State Assembly. We need our Democrat speaker to call us to get to work. We're letting the governor, for better or worse, and I think in many cases for worse, make all the decisions instead of being a co-equal branch of government as a legislature to check the powers of the executive branch. And that's exactly what the U.S. House should be doing. What do you think about this COVID-19 and China's role in all this? Do they have any blame? Do they have any explaining to do?
Absolutely, Kieran. China has got to be held accountable. I mean, the top five, English-speaking nations got together, right, which is the United States, the UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. And they put together a secret paper, which has now been leaked. And that paper says that, in fact, that yes, that they are 95% sure that it came out of this virology lab in Wuhan, that it was covered up, and that, worse, that the actual samples of the virus weren't given to other countries so they could start creating a vaccine sooner, since we know how much time that takes. And then on top of that, they kept saying, poo-pooing the idea that you need to be closing the borders, which is absurd, and allowing on international flights to go on, which just spread the virus. I mean, it's terrible. And China needs to be held accountable for this.
What are our options, do you think, as far as holding them accountable?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that people are taking a look at a lot of different ideas, but certainly something has got to be done. And I think it is great that the truth is getting out there to find out what exactly happened. But I mean, it's terrible, the number of people who have died, over this. And you just think about how, we could have prevented a lot of those deaths. And, but on top of that, then there's the economic, impact. We were talking about, it's been what, 7 weeks, here in New York, that people have, been forced to basically, shelter at home, not go to work, and it's causing dire consequences. So one of my big pushes is that I think we've got to figure out a way to very quickly and safely, reopen the economy. I mean, people who are at risk, people like, my parents should stay home. Absolutely. But, other people who are, healthy should be able to get out there, and work and continue to grow the economy.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the next step. How do we get out there and get back to business in a safe manner? Chele Farley, you're always great to have on. Keep fighting a good fight. I've been watching your campaign for almost a year. I think you came out as a congressional candidate around this time, maybe April of last year, which I think was very wise, because it's very difficult to build the foundation of a campaign, in the election year. You have to do it in the off year. You've done that, and I think that's why you're now in striking distance. Not even Memorial Day yet, but you're making noise already, and I'm very optimistic. Where can people donate to your campaign and learn about your campaign one more time?
Yes, again, please go to chelefarley.com. That's CHELEFARLEY, or again, CongressGetSomethingDone.com. We would appreciate everybody's support. We also have, lawn signs, stickers, bumper stickers. We are happy to spread the word, but, we can and will win this seat in November with everybody's help and support.
That reminds me, lawn signs. My neighbor Rocco has one of your lawn signs up, and I know Kira from my office just got a bunch from your people, so we're going to start getting those out. And
wonderful.
And you'll have one on my my yard sign. I'm told if you have a Chele Farley yard sign on your front yard, your property values go way up.
Way up. Well, Kieran, and I want to thank you for everything that you do with Hudson Power Broker. I think this is absolutely wonderful. It's great to have another voice, representing the people here in the Hudson Valley. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Chele. Enjoy this beautiful May afternoon.
Will do. You too. Enjoy the pool.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.